Is it not written in your law that ye are gods? You understand what I'm saying? So it just depends on what level you on based on, whether you're human or whether you're immortal.
At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Just show up. Your forces are ready to build. Just show up. I said your forces are ready to build. Now, before we get to the jackfruit and potatoes of this conversation, right? We have to lay a foundation, right? And to lay this foundation, I'm going to say this. There are no losers in life, right? Now, I'm going to say it again because I know a lot of y'all are running back and forth to the microwave, still warming up turkey and dressing from Christmas, still getting black eyed peas, out the fridge from New Year's Day, right? I said there are no losers in life, right? And what I mean by that is we have to get to the point where we stop putting things in the category of good and bad, right? In other words, back in the days when pastor was in the pulpit and he went over that verse saying, thou shalt not judge, we didn't understand, including myself, we didn't understand how much sustenance was in that statement, how much sustenance was in that verse, right? It wasn't telling us, and I've said this before, it wasn't telling us that we shouldn't judge for the sake of keeping society morally, vibrating high, not wanting anybody in a bad mood. It wasn't saying that. It was saying that once we start judging things, we now lose our power over things, right? So I'm going to say it again. There are no losers in life, right? We have to start looking at things simply as something that we've created, right? And I know you're saying, with Soul, you got people, all in the hospital, man, with all these, illnesses. You got people going through hard times. Brother, just this week alone, I've got 3 phone calls from friends and family from back home. A number of people have gotten this thing, I'll call it the 1-9, or I'll call it Nina. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? But you have to understand something, man. You have to understand that if you really understand how this world is working, then what we're, what we're hearing on a daily basis on how things are taking place is not true, right? If we understand, and we all say that we understand how this world, how things are created, if we understand that all things are created by an interruption of God energy, right? Then when we talk about people being ill from whatever it is, like there is no such thing as any illness jumping from person to person, body to body. There's no such thing as any illness, being hereditary. You have to understand that when illnesses or things are going from people to people and being, widespread numbers is not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. Because if we understand that all things are created by an interruption in our thought pattern, then there's no such thing as something being, physically contagious. What it is people are buying a mindset. And we just talked about this, man, a number of weeks ago, a number of times, right? Coming out of the book, and I'll be coming out of this book today, Master Key System, Charles Hannell, definitely one of my top 5. And he was just talking about this, where it says all conditions are thought creations and therefore entirely mental. Disease and lack are simply mental conditions in which the person fails to perceive the truth. As soon as the error is removed, the condition is removed. So we have to understand that all the, our illnesses, we have to stop putting them in categories of good and bad and say, you know what? I've simply adopted a mindset and that this interruption in frequency has caused my body to do a certain thing. We have to say, it's not good or bad. It's just an event that's taking place that I've created. Even hard times. And I'm sure all of us have gone through hard times. I've talked about mine a number of times. Matter of fact, in my last video, a brother was saying, I think he said he lost his job that day, which was like a week ago. I mean, you got the holidays going on. The brother said, yeah, I lost my job today. And then he had some positive comments after that, like I understand that I am creating this And that like my old world is, my new world is starting to form. It's simply an event, man. We have to get to the point where we stop putting things in the category of good and bad because we completely forfeit our power over a thing, right? Now, what I'm not saying is let's just, float around the world as if we unaware of dangers and all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying if you're taking your boo out to dinner, man, and it's 200 degrees in the middle of the summer, and you see a brother walking up towards y'all in a trench coat and ski mask, I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh, thou shalt not judge." This brother is probably just having a moment. No, brother, intuition will kick in. Use common sense. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is when you lose a job, when a relationship goes sour, when you find yourself, getting some bad news from a doctor, brother, the last thing you should do is put that event in a category of good and bad, because you have to understand that once when it says "thou shalt not judge," the power behind that is. You have to understand that at all times, we're supposed to be plugged into mind, plugged into our purpose, plugged into our prayer, right? To judge a thing means you have to unplug from it. You know what I'm saying? In other words, to judge a thing, you have to look at the pendulum swinging. To put it in the category of good or bad, you have to unplug from your constant energy, from your prayer, and watch the pendulum swing, right? And I'm telling you, that's the beginning. That's the first step of losing control. That's the first step of becoming a drifter, man, is watching the pendulum swing. You have to understand we're governed by this pendulum. We're governed by, the law of rhythm and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean that we have to observe it. It doesn't mean that we have to constantly look at it, right? Because, again, that's the first step. All I'm saying is we have to stop putting things in a category of good and bad, right? Now, I said all of that to say this. If we understand that all these things are just events, then why is your life stagnant? Why are you having the exact same situations over and over? Why is it that you can't come out of that frequency of making more than 20, 30, or $40,000, dollars a year? Why can't you come out of that frequency of being, overweight and getting fit? You have to understand what's taking place, brothers. What's taking place is you are suffering from workload paralysis. You are suffering from workload paralysis. Now, if you don't believe me, this is a real thing. Google it, man. I just heard this term for the first time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, man. Well, the brother I was talking to, shed light on what was going on, right? So when I say you're suffering from workload paralysis, what's taking place is you're seeing these goals in your life. You're setting these goals. You're saying, you know what? I'm making $50K a year. I want to make $150. I want to make $250,000 a year, right? You see, you don't have any problem, doing the meditation and getting on YouTube and finding people in that frequency. But the thing is, once you set your goals and intentions, you wake up in the morning, it's time to get to start moving in that energy. You see so many different things, so many different mountains you have to climb that you just go into a state of nothingness, right? Prime example, right? And I'll use my own example. And this is when the brother was telling me about it. I remember the last 5 years of my work career, man. Like the company I work for, brother, they were literally overworking us, which I'm starting to find most companies are overworking people nowadays. I remember having the majority of Texas, as far as the territory and sales, right? The majority of Texas, a piece of Oklahoma, at a piece of Louisiana, at a piece of New Mexico, right? One person. And I'm talking about several dealerships. Wherever you see Volvo and Kenworth and Peterbilt dealerships all over all these states, but the one man, which was myself, was responsible for managing these accounts, right? Workload, overworked, hands down, right? I can remember, man, waking up some mornings, knowing what I had to do, seeing, had everything laid out. And I can just remember looking at my workload of the day and just, next thing I know, man, I would just be staring at my computer all day. I was suffering from workload paralysis. In other words, I saw so many things that had to take place that, brother, it put me in a state of exactly what it says, paralysis, man. And this is the thing. This is what I'm learning. See, when it comes to achieving goals, when it comes to, coming out of our old states and doing greater things in life, finding greatness and all that stuff, we have to understand that see, we think that we have to do it all. But we have to understand that there are forces that are present that are waiting on us to start building, right? And I'm going to read this. Going back to the master key system. Going back to the master key system, right? And this is in part 21. It says, do not hesitate to aspire to the highest possible attainments in anything you want to undertake. For the mind forces are ever ready to lend themselves to a purposeful will in an effort to crystallize its highest aspirations into acts, accomplishments, and events. This is the thing, brothers, and this is another place we missed the bus. Like I said, we missed the bus on the whole, thou shalt not judge. Another place, at least I know why I missed the bus at, brothers, is when it says faith without works is dead, right? See, for the majority of my life, I put all my emphasis, I put all my energy into having faith, right? When faith is just the guide. Faith is just what you're plugging into, man. The power, the elixir of the whole thing is in the works. Like, that's where the power is. Like faith is a good thing. Faith is important. Faith is a must. But without the works, man, nothing is moving. Like I said, nothing. It said, faith without works is dead. Your whole situation, your dreams, your goals, they're dead without the works, man. And going back to the books, it says there are forces. Now, how do you summon these forces? How do you summon these forces? Because I'm telling you, the forces are based off of your movement. The forces are based off of your actions, right? For example, right? I was driving down to the H yesterday, right? And in my vehicle, man, in my truck, man, it has a technology that's pretty common in most vehicles, right? It has the adaptive cruise control, right? So when I cut that cruise control off, I never gotta, when people are slowing down and doing all the changes, I kind of just let that thing do what it's doing, right? Just kind of, just slow down if it need to, it'll speed back up, right? That's common. But what I didn't understand is, for a minute, that even if I didn't have the cruise control on, brother, these sensors are still observing. That camera is still watching. It's still monitoring everything around me, right? So yesterday I'm going to the H. I'm on I-45. I'm going in pretty good speed. And next thing I know, my whole truck just locks up. I'm talking about all four lock up, right? And I'm like, what in the world is going on, right? Those were the forces of my vehicle, making sure that certain events, making sure that certain actions were taking place to protect me to get to my goal, right? See, in other words, the steering wheel is my faith. That steering wheel is my guide. That steering wheel is me, tied into the plug. It's telling me how to move. But if I sit in my driveway all day, man, and just play with this steering wheel, nothing is going to take place. All these technologies in my truck, they're going to be doing absolutely nothing. It's not until that motor starts working. It's not until that transmission kicks in. It's not until that differential starts to do what it's supposed to do. It just signals all these other forces like, you know what? Now we have to look out for them. Now there's action. Now there's movement. So I'm telling you, brother, the elixir is in the action to summon the forces that the creator has put in place. And I don't know what these forces are. I don't know if they're, it says mind forces. I don't know if these are the angels. I don't know if these are the ancestors of our past. But these forces aren't summoned until you make steps toward your goals, man. Again, the elixir is in the action. And I'm telling you, man, just show up. Your forces are ready to build. So we can sit there and meditate all day. You can sit there and want to open up a salon. You can sit there and want to open up your own barbershop. you know, like it's just you when you have these thoughts. You can make your vision board. You can, you know, write your notes in your book. Like these are good to generate energy. These are good to send your thoughts to your mind to create your prayer. But at some point in time, you got to put boots on the ground, man. At some point in time, you got to start knocking on building doors, getting prices, getting, you know, prices on equipment, you know. Brothers that are trying to lose weight, man, we can sit there and read magazines. We can sit there and look at, you know, all these other, you know, YouTubers and Instagram people that are getting fit. That's doing nothing until we put our boots on the ground. Once we start putting action into a thing, brother, I'm telling you, that's when the magic happens. I remember in 2000 and I don't know what year this was when I started a gym back in Longview, Texas, right? And I can remember, you know, I got certified as a personal trainer. I had, you know, got and rent or leased me a building. Went and got me some paint and equipment. Didn't have one client. I didn't have one single client, right? And for the next month, give or take a week, right? All I did, every single night I got off work, I went up to this building, man, and I replaced the lights, man. I painted the walls. I, you know, stripped the floor and put new paint down. I was hanging equipment up, right? That was me putting action into my goal, right? By the time I opened that thing up, man, when I first opened up, man, I had a classroom full the first week, right? And I'm telling you that was these forces working. I remember a sister drove by when I was playing one day, and she was like, "Hey, you ought to put an ad in the," I don't know if it was Craigslist back then. It was some way she told me to promote that I had never thought about. And I said, "Cool." Next thing I know, man, people were just coming out of the woodworks, man. Just by me taking that action, you know, forces began to send people my way that could assist me. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, brothers, it's all about the action. And really what's taking place is it's all about creating a hypnotic rhythm. It goes back to outwitting the devil. Even in the master key system, it makes mention of it, brother. There's power in the action. The very next sentence says, an illustration of how these mind forces operate is suggested by the method in which all of our habits are formed. We do a thing, then do a thing again and again and again until it becomes easy and perhaps almost automatic. The elixir is in the action. It's creating a completely new hypnotic rhythm, man. So I'm telling you, man, going into this new year, it's all about actions. Thoughts alone would no longer do it, brothers. Thoughts alone would no longer do it, sisters. I'm telling you. Just show up. Your forces are ready to build.